What is up, everybody? Tony here with the Podioslave Podcast. I am joined, as always, by Nate and Anthony. How you guys doing tonight?
Good, man. I'm ready to do the thing with you fine gentlemen.
Looking forward to it every week to nerd out, geek out,
Yeah.
and have a few sinceres.
Yeah, we like to have a few cold ones while we nerd out once a week here. Hit us up on the socials at Podioslave on Twitter and Instagram. Had a lot of cool feedback to the Foos episode we did last week. Just dropped a couple of photos up there this week to the end of this week. Now you're hearing it the following week now, right? It's Monday. But yeah, go check those out. Check out our top 10 Foo Fighters ranking from last week if you haven't yet. And if you have and you liked it and you came back, thank you. We're loving to have new listeners here.
Actually, you asked how I was doing. I'm actually doing really good because I been listening to a lot of vinyl, and I think it goes with kind of the season, you know, cozy up to your record player. And I got a new record player.
Oh, yeah.
So that always helps. But yeah, a lot of records, wintertime, just put it on and tune everything else out.
Ooh, that's a different kind of music therapy, right? Vinyl, cozy in, like nothing else going on. It's got your full attention. It's perfect.
Yeah, you're ready to segue already, Nate. I love that. So
Segue
episode
king.
50, right, boys? I mean, damn. This is crazy to me. We're almost a year into the Podioslave experience. And yeah, our first set list item, Nate just was segueing into it. Heavy Therapy, an episode we did months ago. What, episode 16 or something?
Yeah.
Loud music, angry music sometimes makes you feel good. It's been scientifically proven.
It's almost another Podioslave prediction in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But now we have some grounds to speak on. So yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah, there was I think it was Guitar World online. Guitar World published an article that highlighted a recent study. I'm not sure what it was based out of. It was the Vera Clinic. It's like 1,500 people. But yeah, the study revealed that metal is one of the best genres of music for lowering blood pressure and anxiety levels. And for me, someone who's been on this tip for over 20 years, it's like sky's blue, grass is green, and
Yeah,
this.
you knew this.
Yeah, it's like this is why I listen to it, But yeah, you're right, Nate. We now have scientific evidence that heavy therapy is a thing, and now we need to trademark that name.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to throw that on a shirt. Maybe a Podioslave Podcast, Heavy Therapy t-shirt, right? When we go live with the web store down the road, that'd be one of the first ones. Because, I mean, early on, that was one of our most listened to episodes. And I think people really resonate with the fact that heavy music is a catharsis. It is that kind of release. Maybe you had a shitty day at work, like most of us do sometimes, and you want to just kind of rage out a little bit and get those feelings out. And this is a good way to do it. And that's why this works. What was funny to me, though, in reading that, there was one genre of music that beat it out. Did you guys see that?
It was something like 80s pop.
80s pop. Yeah.
But that makes sense, though. You get like Hall & Oates or something, you get upbeat. I get that.
I also ride for that stuff, so that makes sense to me, too. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? We love the heavy therapy here.
Yeah, that's cool. And actually, to your point, like it's funny because it almost takes away the stigma, right? Because you don't look like a death metal, I'm gonna kick your fucking ass guy, and that's not like a bad thing, but it just shows that the music is very universal, and the fact that it's now has health benefits is like, oh, now maybe it'll come around full circle and have some more spins altogether for that genre altogether. I kind of compare it to like cannabis. Like cannabis was like, oh, you're a stoner. Now it's like a publicly traded commodity. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
it's true.
It's come full circle. What made me laugh in the article was the doctor that administered the study. This is to quote him. I didn't get his name, but he says, "Angry music can help listeners process their feelings, and as a result, lead to greater well-being," which is a pretty bold claim, but I subscribe to that. I believe that.
I'm a late convert. I mean, I've always liked heavy-ish music, but getting into the heavier stuff a little later, and yeah. That's exactly what it does. You just feel like you just let that kind of animosity go as opposed to letting it sit there and build up and fester and make you feel like shit. Now, kind of rage it out, turn it up on your ride home, and then you get home and relax. You've done it. You've let that feeling go. You've, put the loud music, the heavy music on and had that catharsis.
Yeah, kind of brings me back to like going to the gym when gyms were still open. It's like you see the meatheads with like headphones blaring metal. You can like hear the metal through like the over the ear headphones, and you're like, now you can be like, you know what? I feel like his pain. I know what he's going through. He's just trying to get through it. It's medicine.
Chalk that up to things that we already knew, but now the world can see is a scientifically proven study. Who knows how great the study was, but hey, we're down for it. It makes sense to us.
Yeah, 1,500 people. It doesn't seem like a big sampling, but it's enough where it just makes you wonder how many genres they played. You know what I mean? And what the do you play like who did they play? You know what I mean? Is it like is it entry level stuff, or is it like Napalm Death? Like what is it?
I wonder also like if this goes like 15 years ago or 20 years ago when radio was a little more prevalent and more people had to listen to that to find things, and then you heard the same song for the 15th time, would that raise your blood pressure and make you less happy? Probably, right?
What is it? Earworm? What's the?
Oh yeah, my copyrighted Tony right here. Earworm terrorism. You just like say a song or a lyric to somebody just so that it gets stuck in their head. That's earworm terrorism.
Chumbawamba.
Are you Jimmy Ray?
Cue in When September Ends by Green Day. Not again.
No.
Yeah, or Boulevard of Broken Dreams. That was on everywhere. And we love Green Day. We're a Green Day house, but I mean, it was on every radio station in the country for what, 6 months? It's like, oh, you walk a lonely road, Billy, do you? All right, well, cool. Next, I've heard this 1,000 times.
Everywhere. The Target bathroom, everywhere. You can't
everywhere. Exactly.
Cool story, Billy. Now give me Dookie too.
Exactly. Yeah. I want play a song off Insomniac for God's sake.
On to your point on like what were they listening to? I wonder if it converted anyone that was like anti-metal. They're like, this is actually pretty good.
Have you ever seen like on YouTube those like older people reacting to like certain music, like heavy music? Like you can tell this. I almost in those videos see the opposite, where if it would raise their blood pressure because I don't know what it is. So yeah, it makes me wonder. Like,
I guess it depends on the population. Yeah.
But cool story. Another Podioslave. I don't know if it's prediction, but just cemented what we've already known. We're always ahead of the curve, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Now it's Podioslave /nerdery certified, which is always great.
All right, so we had another item. So that was a cool headline we saw. The other headline, which nothing really heavy about this one, but a very interesting combination of artists are going to form together for a song. DMX and Bono of U2. So it was announced that on the Drink Champs podcast, Noriega, hip hop dude, his podcast, DMX was a guest, and he announced that Bono is going to be on his upcoming album, which I don't know. I'll go first. I'm all about it. I don't think genres shouldn't have any boundaries. Music shouldn't, collaboration, et cetera, et cetera. I think this is. I'll check it out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's cool that they're coming together. It's a little perplexing though when you think about it. I'm just geeking out here, but DMX in particular, he just got out of jail for I think tax evasion, right? So he's on the other spectrum. When you consider U2 or Bono in particular is one of the richest rock stars on the planet. So who's scratching who's back, really? It's kind of Bono giving a tip to DMX. It's a good favor, I guess. But I love both artists and always have. So I think it's great. And the more I read into the article, it really is kind of who you know. So this is more of looks like a invite or kind of introduction by Jimmy Iovine, who is, the know everyone, plugged in with everyone type person in the industry. So I can see how that kind of went down. It could literally just be like a cocktail party. So that's kind of cool.
A couple things jumped in my head when I read this. One, not Bono's first foray into hip hop, right? I think he was on Damn, Kendrick Lamar's Damn a few years back, and I believe he'd done some work with Jay-Z and stuff. So yeah, not his first dalliance with a hip hop artist. Love it. Obviously, we grew up with DMX, and we grew up with U2. At one point during U2's tenure as a band, they've been the biggest rock band in the world, right?
Yep.
And DMX is a rapper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put those two things together, what do we get? Rap rock. Is this new metal?
Oh, wow.
It's not new metal, but I mean, I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, will it be a rock-infused rap song, or will it be just like Bono will be singing harmonies in the hook? Like, who?
I bet it's the latter.
You think so? Yeah. Because it's not like The Edge or whatever is joining. It's just Bono. But this reminds me, I did see another headline, which is Chino of the Deftones is going to be on Trippie Redd's, the rapper, his upcoming rock album. So like, I think genres and sound boundaries are gone as far as everyone knows.
I think you're right, and I think the pandemic has lent itself to people being more open to these different genre bending collaborations.
Yeah. In fact, it might just be another one of those things where they're looking at the metrics like DMX, you still got a pretty good following month over month. U2 obviously too, so we can kind of throw these legacy acts together and see what we come up with. It's not going to fail, right? You're definitely going to get spins, and that's where the royalties are coming from these days. And there's no touring. And U2 is a touring machine, so he's probably like, yeah, it's almost like taking a commercial spot. Like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I mean, I got nothing to lose, whatever.
That's a great point.
Get a cut on that royalty, and hey, maybe it brings people there that were U2 fans that would never have listened to it otherwise, and it brings people to U2 from the DMX camp that were never U2 fans. So that could be, it's a good way to market yourself to another audience, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's the Bono Etsy project.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is in this era, this era of technology and remote recording, Bono didn't have to leave his house. I'm sure he's got his own studio, or he's got one close by. He just gets sent the master track or whatever, and hey, do your thing, dude.
I got a tangent question for you guys regarding this. So, if I agree with you, Twan, that is definitely a thing that's happened, especially during this time where, I mean, it was happening before where people didn't necessarily need to be in the same room to create music.
Yep.
Is the music we're going to get over the next couple of months going to sound a little disconnected because of that? Like, we had a lot more of that, people laying down their own track or their own piece by themselves, and there wasn't as many people in the room doing their thing.
I have a take. I mean, I don't think you'll notice a difference because I think that's how the world works now. It's like take the world of hip hop. Like, there's beat makers that just shop the beats out, and they don't care as long as there's a paycheck. So it's not like the artist is necessarily in there curating the beat. So they get the beat, and then most rap features is this same thing. It's the remote recording. They never step foot in the same area. And in fact, I remember hearing about some music videos where features, they were never on the same set. They were recorded separately, and they just spliced them together, studio magic or whatever. For rock bands, I don't know. That's a good one.
I guess it would make more sense for rock bands. It would maybe sound or feel more disconnected.
Well, I was going to piggyback off what Anthony was saying, because given, our nerdery investigations, I've noticed that a lot of the bands, to your point, Twan, are sending literally demos via email to put together a song and an album anyway. That's been kind of the cadence for the last at least 10 years. It seems like, from just like articles and, he sent me that demo and we put it together, we spliced it together and we put out our newest album. It's like kind of disheartening. You're like, oh, you guys actually don't even jam? That sucks. I don't know what a lot of that has to do with the fact that people live in different areas and they can't just go to a rehearsal space.
I think that's what it is.
That's part of it. But I think also, you think of like Metallica. I was listening to a lot of Metallica earlier in the week, and I'm like, those guys hate each other's guts. So they're probably like, I'm not going to fucking work with Lars. I'll send him my riff and he can send me his and we'll get it together. But yeah, there's no way you're going to pay me to get in a room with that guy. So, so there's always that. But depending on the situation, Tone, I think, you make a good point. There is some band have that in-room energy, and has COVID dissipated that for certain artists, I'm sure. But, hopefully we'll see that kind of reconvene as things start to get better and open up, optimistically, of course. But I think there's probably some of that happening for sure, but not at the extent that you think.
Yeah, and a lot of these bands, maybe if they are gearing up for an album release, probably got together at some point. So maybe it's not as prevalent as I'm making it out to be, but I just wonder, it's a thought, like, is this going to sound like a disconnected, disjointed group of music, a time frame in music, rock music or indie, type of singer-songwriter type things where you've got more than one person in a band? Is it going to sound weird? And I hope not, but you're probably right. I mean, with technology and the way they clean everything up nowadays, it's probably never even going to be a big thing. It'll be more the content of the music that we look back on down the road.
I think there's two sides of it. I think what you're saying could be very well the case, and we would, music will come out in 2022 where that's proven point, and like this band that was so tight rushed it, or like had never worked in a space where they were sending each other demos and stuff, and we're like, well, we got to put out an album, we got to make this deadline for our contract, and it does suck, and it does, it's a dud and doesn't translate. So I'm sure we'll see that, and maybe I feel like that's maybe even a prediction on your end.
It's a good point, though. I like that point. I think you're right.
But there are certain albums, and two that come to mind that fit this are like Newfound Glory's Coming Home and Incubus Morning View, where those were all demoed in a destination, and you can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be hard to feel something when, a guy writes a riff on his couch and shoots it over the country in an email. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It just doesn't sound the same as being in the room and maybe feeling that energy. Yeah. There'll be some of that probably. And then there'll be some where like, wow, these guys or gals still sound amazing. Here we go. Like, I'm excited. So
I feel like if they've exercised it before, it could work. If they haven't, it'll work against them. And those artists you just mentioned, Twan in particular, makes sense. Even the Chili Peppers, they usually write as a group. So for Shantae's back in the fold, like, they're most likely sending each other emails back and forth. Mm-hmm. So, they could be kind of riding that line like, ooh, this could be good, but also be lacking that energy collectively.
Yeah, I mean, even take like working from home, like you feel like you lose kind of that personal touch, even though you can, Zoom them in or Skype them in or whatever. It's just not the same.
And everybody's zoomed out, right?
Yeah,
we used it for fun, but if you're doing this every day, all day for work, I could see this getting old quick.
Oh yeah, yeah.
One great way to relate it to ourselves, because I couldn't agree more. Like the whole team energy of being in an office, like it has its perks and it has its downside, but the perks are pretty great. It's like collective energy of like, hey, we're kicking ass right now. This is sweet, like a real team.
Yep.
Through Skype and through Zoom, it's like, cool, great meeting. All right, cool, see ya. It's like very dry.
How do I log off of this thing again?
Yeah. Oh shit, I'm a cat. I'm not a cat.
I'm a lawyer. I'm not a cat. Memes. That will make sense to whoever finds this 7 years from now.
So yeah, I'm excited for this. I will check it out. And how I look at it is, if it doesn't work between these two, I just won't listen to it. I'll listen to it once, and either I like it or I won't. No harm, no foul.
Yeah, that's kind of like the commercial analogy. It's just like, hey, it's commercial. That's a shitty sellout commercial, and then you forget about it. It's just over and done. It's not like you're gonna revisit it,
Unless they're forcing it on TV every 5 commercial breaks. Oh, there it is again. Cool.
Yeah, it's the new Green Day Boulevard in the Target bathroom. Like, fuck, I can't get away from this.
Again. Yeah.
Again.
All right, so we have a segment that we didn't tease, but again, if you're here, you probably read it when you clicked on the episode. Favorite live albums, favorite live. They could be an album, CD, record. They could be. I've got a DVD that might throw in there depending on how things go. So yeah, favorite piece of kind of live music that you feel is a great cohesive piece of live, paraphernalia. So these live albums sometimes do we want to kind of talk about how maybe some of them have come about in the past?
Yeah.
Maybe the end of a record deal type thing. I know we've hinted at that in the past, and maybe it's a 3-album deal or a 4-album deal, and here's a greatest hits, or here's a live album, out of our deal piece, and sometimes that's not necessarily great. But then there are bands that obviously do this completely different.
So I'm gonna say this: I don't like live CD. Like, I don't like live CDs. Even for bands I really like, I never choose to put them on over the recorded stuff. Now, live DVDs, different story. I'll put those on. I like the visual, and that's why I watch a lot of live stuff on YouTube. But yeah, historically and even now, I'm not a huge live CD guy.
I'm gonna try to convert you, because I love the live album and live CD and whatever it is, live bootleg experience so much. So I'm almost like the polar opposite. But I understand where you're coming from, because is it because you like just the great sounding, no mistakes, like clear sounding mix of the song rather than like a variation of that same song?
Yeah, well, I think part of it is most of my favorite bands, sound wise, doesn't translate well live from a sound perspective. The show and the energy translates beautiful, but the sound, most of it sounds terrible. So I'd rather listen to the recorded or go see them in a non-pandemic situation.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay. That makes sense. Yep. And I can attest to that in many situations. I know what you're talking about. Depending on the artist, I would never listen to them on a live track, just because I know it's going to be miserable, even though they might even be good live. They just don't have the infrastructure, I guess, to support that live recording or whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, no, that makes sense.
We talk about Slipknot a lot here. Sorry, Brendan. We're gonna talk about Slipknot again. I've seen them live once with you, Nate. I think all three of us have seen them. So that version of them way better than like I'd much rather see them in person. See the energy, the crowd, be part of it that way. It just pales in comparison to the CD pales in comparison to that. So I'm with you there, Twan, especially for some music. Now, maybe we need to open you up to some different music that does sound great on a live CD or record, right, Nate? I think that's what we're gonna do here.
That's the conversion. That's what I'm talking about. But also to your point, Tony, and what I think you're saying to Twan is, visually, Slipknot's a great example. Visually, that's actually a great experience. So like live Slipknot DVDs are amazing because it's cool. Like, this is the real deal, But yeah, live on a record, I actually almost chose that record that Slipknot put out. What is it? Slipknot Live like 9.0 or something?
9.0, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, this is good, but because I can't visually see it, it's kind of just like whatever.
Disaster Pieces, I think, was the DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, they put out, was it Knotfest from 2019 earlier on in the pandemic on YouTube for free streaming?
Yeah.
And that's fucking awesome. Like I watched that. I was like, yeah, all right. I can see why people would rather watch it than listen to it on CD.
But yeah, I think as far as why bands put them out, I've always assumed it's label, satisfy a deal, one, or money grab, which those go hand in hand typically. And I would venture to guess a lot of like the well-known live albums wasn't even the bands. They might not have had any say. It was the label just, hey, toss this out. We need another album from you. Your last album sucked. We want to move units. We're putting this out.
I think two of mine are completely different than that. Really? Actually, all three are, but one's a DVD, so it doesn't count for that. But yeah, I do. I think that the couple of the ones that I have aren't that at all. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I think that goes against like my own like conventional wisdom of it. Mm-hmm. So you want to get into it?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Who's going
Spin
first?
The wheel. Who's up?
Spin the wheel. Tick 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 tick. Tony.
And I'm going to go first because I don't want Nate to take it. So this one was not I don't believe was to satisfy a label contract or anything like that. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. It's a massive, massive undertaking. It's probably 48 or 50 songs, I think. It was 400 or so tracks. They whittled it down, and I think it was over like 3,500 different live shows from this band, this front man and his band. Any guesses?
Oh, okay. Is it Tom Petty?
It's Tom Petty.
I was gonna say Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's Tom Petty's live anthology from 2009. So that came out in November of 2009 and has just so many great versions of his songs live. I think, and there's a theme for what I picked tonight. They're bands that I've seen, bands or artists that I've seen, so I can put myself there when listening to the live version. Does that make sense? I think that's the thing. I think that works.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I've seen Petty twice. Once with you, Nate, at the Tweeter or whatever it's called now, in Norwood, Mass, just outside of Foxborough, Mass, and once in Portland, Maine, with our episode 17 guest, Rob. So I think we were like 8 rows off the stage in Portland. It was an awesome show. That was probably, 6 or 7 years ago. So just phenomenal show, phenomenal live show. Petty sounds just as good in person as he does on live recording, as he does on studio recordings. So that's another piece that makes a great live album for me. He or she or they all sound the same. There's not a lot of break. There's not this doesn't sound as good because there's imperfections. There are imperfections. Sometimes the song is 12 minutes long, like It's Good to Be King on this the live compilation. And that song is fucking awesome at 6 or 7 minutes long, but double it live with the crowd, going nuts, and the, guitar solo and the piano, and throw that all in there. It's just a feeling you don't get from the studio recording. So having seen it live, that's probably why I love this one. Nate, I think this feeds into you. You went to Bonnaroo in 06?
First one was in 07, unfortunately. 06 is a great lineup.
You just missed the 06 one. The Learning to Fly from 06 at Bonnaroo. It's on Apple Music as a video. I'm sure it's on YouTube. I'll put it on the playlist. It is awesome. It's a great version of that song because the crowd takes over for half of it, and it gives you chills. And Petty kind of harmonizes over the crowd. It's fucking awesome. You can't beat that. So this is what makes a great a great live record for me, and this is up there as far as live albums go.
Does he talk? Does he talk between songs and stuff?
Yeah, not a lot when I've seen him, but yeah, slow, southern, from Gainesville, Florida.
Because I love that. I love that because like you don't get that obviously on the recorded record, and sometimes it's super genuine stuff, or that they say that you just I don't know you can tell a lot about someone the way they interact with the crowd. I feel like.
And Tom Petty's the best example of that. Like you said, minimal words, but like you said, southern, drawn out. He's like a movie character, like I don't even know, like a Robert Downey Jr. of music kind of thing. Just like,
is he like you?
Yeah. Well, me, I'm a lot of words, but yeah. But yeah, no, Tony, you're funny. It's funny you chose that because that actually was one of mine. So I'll cross that off. Good thing I got some safeties here.
Sorry, that's why I went first.
Yeah. And Good to Be King is my favorite Tom Petty song. So that version is amazing on this album. And I haven't seen that Bonnaroo take on which song was it?
Learning to Fly.
Learning to Fly.
You've heard the live version recorded though, I'm sure.
Oh, totally.
It's kind of slowed down and halfway through the crowd just starts getting into it. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, actually I take it back. Learning to Fly is my favorite Tom Petty song. To Be King's number 2. But yeah, 06 Bonnaroo was the year before I went, and that was a legendary one with Radiohead, and it's said to be like the last Bonnaroo before it went corporate or whatever. But yeah, I mean the in between songs, like I was saying to you, Twan, like it elevates the studio recording because you get that, fully immersive experience of I feel like I'm there, and I get to know the frontman and the band a little bit more, even with like the minimal words. You understand their personality that much more. It's like the music's one thing, but then you get to hear them kind of converse a little bit. You're like, oh, this guy really is who he is in the songs. It's not just like a facade. So that's probably a notable reason why I love live recordings, is depending on who you get for a frontman, mainly the front person, because they're the one talking a lot of the time, you get to really know that person as a nerd, not necessarily on a personal level, but it seems personal at the time.
And how long is that, Tone?
I want to say it's like 48 songs. It's 4. Damn. It was 4 CDs or 5 CDs, and I don't have the vinyl. I do own the deluxe edition that has a not bootleg, but like a vinyl, one of the first live recordings they ever did. They pressed, and It has a DVD of the making of Wildflowers, which they just repressed last year and re-released finally, and an all-time Tom Petty album. So if you're a Petty fan, I mean, this is awesome. It lived in my car for a long time. It was another one of those ones that was in the 6 CD changer. And sometimes I listened to disc 1, sometimes I listened to 3. Just depend on my mood. And it was Petty. So growing up listening to Petty's greatest hits with my dad on road trips, it obviously hit the spot.
It's kind of sad that, CDs won't be pressed here pretty soon. Like that's coming. And it just makes you wonder, like something like that, would it ever hit the light of day outside of streaming, or maybe they'd press it on vinyl.
I sold all my CDs a few years back, which part of me is, not all of them, but part of me is a little bummed I did, but they also took up a ton of space. And this is one that I hung on to. I was like, this one's staying with me. I like this too much.
Yeah, when I wrote this one down, I was surprised that it came out in 2009, because I feel like it came out the other day. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, it came out that long ago already? Like it seemed like yesterday. And he was still alive then, obviously. So Tom Petty's no longer with us, unfortunately. But last time I saw him, he was same thing in relation to this album. Same vibe, playing the same songs. His band, they're all masters of the craft. So like they really are extremely tight, or they were extremely tight at what they do. One of the members actually lives about 20 minutes north of where I live. I can't remember which member, but I used to see him at the bar. I'm like, oh, God damn, it's one of the
the Harpers, yeah. Go knock on the door, man.
Right there. What's that?
And go knock on his door, and he can come on next week.
Yeah, great pick, man.
Sorry to steal that from you, but I think this goes back to Twan. This is one that is not to satisfy a deal. Like this is, hey, we have 1 million songs, and we've never put out a proper massive live album. Here you go. Here's everything.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just given the context of it, and I don't know, he never came across as a money grabbing kind of guy anyway.
I was going to say the most ironic thing of the whole thing, of everything, is the fact that Tom Petty was very vocal of his hate against the music industry collectively.
There you go. So,
he put out the live album, but it definitely wasn't like a gun to the head. It was like, I'm going to do this because I want to do it, which is cool.
Well, and they never repressed, while he was alive, they never repressed Wildflowers because it wasn't a priority for him. I think he wanted to at some point correctly, but was never like, yeah, let's do the money grab thing. Let's put this out there. So, yeah, I think last week in talking about Dave Grohl, we put Grohl, like I said, Grohl is kind of the new boss. He really is the new Petty, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just so many hits. Was a nerd like Petty, wanted to do the Sound City thing he did with, Petty was big in Sound City back in the day. I feel like that is a better comparison.
Yeah, you could be right. Also known as like Tom Petty in particular, like one of the nicest guys in rock. So same with Dave Grohl, obviously.
Yeah,
so
a lot of parallels there.
Yeah, it just seems genuine, and that's actually why I asked if he had any banter between songs and whatnot, because there's nothing worse than like the stereotypical, "How's everyone doing out there? Make some noise!" Just like you've heard that a million times. But then there's other artists where like you can tell they're like genuinely happy to be there and they love what they're doing, and sometimes they'll personalize the message to your town, like, "Hey, I just had some lobsters down at the wharf or whatever." It's like, all right, cool. I'm glad you're indulging in the local scene here. So Nate, you want to go or you want me to go?
Yeah, I got one locked and loaded here. I was putting a bunch down and this one kept recurring because it was such a formative live album for me, where I was like, okay, I love live music and I need to check out more. And it was kind of a driver for that. So this album dropped in 1998. So a 90s OG. We're in 8th grade and I'm discovering music, but not necessarily the live part of it. And I think this is kind of what put me in that direction a little bit more, spearheaded that a little bit more. So 311 Live 1998 was quintessential for me. I can't remember who introduced this to me. I want to say his name was Ian, one of our friend's brothers. Got me into a lot of live music from live bootlegs. And this isn't necessarily a bootleg. It is a record label pressing, I believe on Capricorn at the time, which is no longer a label, but fantastic live rendition of their songs. It really captivates what they do, what translates in their live show, which I've seen them, I don't have the database 12, but I've seen them probably 15 times. So this spearheaded that effort to see them as much as possible. And I just loved it. And I was like such a young buck, you know what I mean? Like hearing these songs, hearing their vibe, like translate from the albums to this, I was like, oh, this is what it must be like to see them in concert. They're very interactive. Chad Sexton, one of my favorite drummers of all time. It's got a, almost 3-minute solo in here.
Yeah. Applied Science, right?
Yep. Applied Science. Exactly. And this is one of those albums that I did keep in my car. And I think I wore this out so much that it like stopped playing correctly. Like I just wore it thin,
All right. I'm going to put you on the spot, Nate. What was the actual CD? Do you remember? Like
what do you mean? The name?
The image of like the actual CD. Do you remember what was on it?
Oh yeah. No, it's like this really cool artwork, like actually really cool poster that I always wanted. Artwork of some like sketchy like music industry guy on the front.
Well, no, the actual disc. Do you remember?
Oh, the disc? No, I don't know.
If I'm remembering correctly, it was that cartoon character's like mouth with the teeth.
I think you're right.
I think you're right. Yeah.
We can story it or something because I have the CD upstairs. But I remember that his mouth was open, I think. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, very charismatic artwork for this album. But I remember it's funny you bring up the artwork because the album cover artwork is like everything we know about the music industry today. Like there's a guy like telling you, here you go to the show. It's like that guy is like the Live Nation guy. You know what I mean? He's like, I just took all your money. Enjoy
like
the
show.
Evil
magician looking dude or the devil or whatever.
Exactly.
They did for a long time. Did they do 311 Day in New Orleans?
Yes.
That has New Orleans vibes to me, the cover.
Yes. Yep.
Well, a lot of the songs were recorded in New Orleans.
Yeah, so that makes sense. I mean, it's a place that they were using for 311 Day, which is this massive concert event that they'd done a long time on March 11th for many years, different places all over the world. But New Orleans was kind of one of the first places they made their home as far as that went. So I bet this was their kind of homage to New Orleans, being that album art was their homage to that.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, it was actually recorded on September 17th, 1997.
Yep.
Released on November 3rd, 1998 at the UNO Lakefront Arena in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is where they do 311 Day every year, or they did for a while. I think they moved it to Vegas for a while.
Yeah. They did Vegas this past year, right as the world was ending, as the lockdown started, and we were a little critical, not critical, but we were like,
Yeah.
guys, could this be a
Yeah.
super spreader?
Yeah.
This record is awesome. I love this record growing up. I'm with you, Nate. It was a record listened to all the time, especially, I mean, our friendship dates, our like close friendship, I would say, dates back to junior year of high school when we all had lockers really close to each other. And
Yeah.
a lot of our time was spent shooting the shit in between class about music or trading CDs or going, hey, where are we going after school to listen to music and hang out and do whatever? Because that's what we did. And this band was the band for me anyway at that time.
For
and
a
I think it was
while.
for you guys
Yep.
too. Yeah. Like you guys introduced me to them through this kind of, bromance of music that we have. So I just love it. It's great. Applied Science, that drum solo, but I can hear it now. I haven't listened to this record in years. I can hear it in my head right now. So it's definitely ingrained in my my DNA.
And I'm going to be kind of a hater, but put a spin on it. This was a great time for this to come out because it was before a lot of the stuff, not to diss 311, but there were some duds near the end. And, they had a great, I think we said 6-album run. This was maybe, actually, you know what? This might be a little too early to get, so this misses Sound System era. This was before that, but this was a good time.
Sound System and Mrs. From Chaos? Those two would probably be the two that I would want more of on this.
Yeah, and they were touring off of Transistor on this album. Yeah, because Beautiful Disaster's in there. Yeah, but I'd rather have this then than have it in 2021, just because I don't know if I would. I don't know how much old stuff they still play.
Yeah, and pre-Sound System and From Chaos, like listening to the album again today, I was like, they were already like mega huge in their own right. Even I guess this is an arena show, but they were playing theaters for the most part for this leg, I think. And they were already on top of the world for just their craft, So the fact they put out 2 other killer albums after is like icing on the cake. But like this almost captures them on like huge, like they were already pretty damn big, but almost like cult following status. Where like Sound System and From Chaos were, they were radio play all day, right? I think Transistor got some, but it was, I don't know, maybe in the top 40, definitely not in the top 10, I wouldn't think. And then From Chaos comes up in Sound System, and it's like, even the artwork and the promotion's very in your face. So this, I think, captured 311, and it's maybe their last organic, we're a hippie rock band from Omaha, to like, we're this California band. Not really, but kind of,
Twan, to answer your question about how much do they play of the old stuff, their Mardi Gras 2020 live album, Beautiful Disaster, All Mixed Up, Silver, Come Original, Don't Stay Home, Do You Right, Purpose. So yeah, they play a lot of old stuff.
Is that an extended list, or is that a typical one? Or
this is a show from early last year. So,
oh wow,
I don't know. I mean, Sick Tight is from Chaos, Down, obviously. Creatures, some stuff a little after too, and there are some songs in here that I'm not as aware of. So those are probably more recent, but
that's a solid list, though.
Yeah, no, they still slay. They still slay live. Like last time they came to San Diego. Maybe they came after, actually, but the last time I went to pay to see them was at the House of Blues, which is a tiny venue for them. I think the cap, I want to say, is 1,200, maybe 1,400. And Zebrahead was opening. I was like, this is perfect. It's like a $40 ticket. I'm in. And the rest of the tour was like amphitheater. So I think it was a special engagement, but nonetheless, like they were fucking great, man. They were still tight. It was a fantastic show. And like you said, a lot of deep cuts, a lot of legacy songs, and sprinkled in some like newer songs. I think they almost know like, their earlier stuff is what hits for the fans and they appreciate more, and the new stuff is good, but they definitely knew they were on a pretty strong stretch for a long time, so they lean heavy on that set list for sure.
Good pick.
All right, Twan.
All right, so this one here, I'll tease it a little bit. I'll actually call back to what you mentioned, Tone, in the intro, which is you mentioned the word cohesive, where a lot of these live albums are cohesive because they're recorded in one location. Well, this is kind of the antithesis of that, and what I'm talking about is Nirvana's From the Muddy Banks of Wishkah. Came out in '96, and it's a weird live compilation album. Every song's from a different performance, a different year. It actually spans like 5 years, so some of these are even pre-Grohl. And this is gonna sound weird for this segment, but this album kind of stinks. Like, it's not a great, like, it's not cohesive. It's super raw. The recordings aren't good, but it it teleports me back to being 11. I was 1996. I was 11. I got this, and I got it through Columbia House BMG mail order.
Wow.
So
Nice.
if we have any younger than us listeners, I feel like we were at the cusp of, like, any younger people wouldn't really know what that is, but basically a mail order CD. They tried to get you on like a subscription thing, but they would bait you in with penny CDs where you just pay a penny and you pay shipping for like 10 CDs, and then every CD after that was like $20.
Yeah.
So you just, I remember, like, you just sign up with different members of your household and you'd have a whole CD collection. But this was one that I had when I was young. And again, it's not a great album, but I think it captures the essence of Nirvana perfect, because they're not a good live band. They're a great experience. Like, if I've seen live footage, they're great visually. Sound-wise, terrible. Cobain's terrible. And that's why, like, we mentioned earlier in this episode where, like, some of that stuff just doesn't translate, and that's kind of why I don't really dig a lot of the live stuff. But this one, it holds a special place. I love the CD cover. It's just that, like, burnt orange with the pictures of the band. It's so simple. One last thought is tying it back to if this was a money grab. It came out after Cobain died, and it was originally supposed to be the B-side to Unplugged, but they split it. And I think that's a money situation. Try to milk it. It's like all those Tupac albums that came out after he died. So are you guys familiar with this one?
Yeah, a little bit. And actually, the point you make is spot on. Like, it's not really that great of an album, but it catches the grit of
There you go.
grunge in its heyday. And, we had Lance Mercer on here, photographer, mainly for Pearl Jam, but the grunge era and just early 90s, mid 90s. Like, he painted this picture that I wished I was I wish I was there so bad. Like, if there was any way for me to be older and live that when we were really getting into music, I would pretty much do anything. I would pay anything to be in that experience and fully understand what was going on. And that bootleg captures that. It's like gritty, it's cheap, it's dirty, it's sweaty,
yep.
But it's real, and that's awesome. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think that's what grunge really represents. It's like, yeah, this is like, just music. A bunch of us just came together and threw this together, and you guys are gonna mosh and whatever. It's gonna be whatever. It's what your parents tell you is just noise, kind of thing. It's perfect. So that captures that. But I agree with you that it's just not the best live recording, and Kurt's just not great live. It's kind of like Sublime live. Like, he just wasn't a great performer. So, but it captures that kind of like moment in history for someone that's like essentially a staple for the music industry forever. So for that reason alone, like, it almost has to be that way. So you make a good point on that.
I'm not as familiar with this one. Obviously, I'm more familiar with the MTV Unplugged, which is iconic as far as the MTV Unplugged series is concerned, and as far as Nirvana is concerned. You're right. They've never sounded great live.
No.
And that's not a knock on them. That's I guess, recorded versions of those songs just don't translate like the energy would there in person, I'm sure. And if I could go back and do it, I would love to. I was too young.
Yeah.
But I would love to have been able to see those guys when I was, 1991, when they were one of the biggest bands in the world. It would have been just awesome to catch them on tour for Nevermind, right? I mean, we would all be down for that, but it didn't happen. Obviously, we're a little too young, and we did get, and I've waffled on this record for so long, the Unplugged version, and it's never been all that great sounding per se, and that's it sounds like that's what this record's like too, but the feel is great because it's in one place, where this one is kind of all over the map. It's funny to me that it, like, you even said it's not that good, but
yeah,
it does. It holds a special place for you because
that's
it's
what
something
it
you
is.
spend time with.
It's the nostalgic. I think it's the first one I got into. Like, I had 311 Live, but that was in '98. I think this was the first live album I got, and I was gonna mention something. I can't remember what it was when you were talking, Tony. Oh, what it was is this was supposed to be the B-side to Unplugged.
Yep.
And I kind of like deep dove on that on Wikipedia, and it checks out because there's only one song that's on both Unplugged and this CD. So they intentionally split it like that. I think it's Polly, maybe. Polly's the only song that's on both. But yeah, this is the nostalgic, like, it's the whole, like, who's the best band in the world? Okay, well, who's your favorite band? It's always different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is by no means the best one. This is like, it holds a special place. Yep. Oh, trivia.
Ooh.
What is this record's tie to the state of Maine, our hometown?
Portland?
What's that?
Was it mastered in Portland?
You motherfucker.
Bob Ludwig
Yes.
at Gateway Studios in Portland, Maine.
Do you have the wiki pulled up
many,
or what?
many. No.
No.
I just anything that was anything, especially the last 25 years, was mastered in Portland. Stuff that we love.
Yeah.
Tool, Bruce Springsteen, Nirvana. Yep.
Yeah. Our ultimate claim to fame.
Bob Ludwig, Grammy nominated winner.
Multiple winner.
Yeah.
Multiple. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Nate. I got excited.
No, that's cool. I want to meet that guy. In fact, our buddy Rob that came on here on the podcast used to tell me stories all the time, like text me like, man, we should really run down to 4th Street because Bob Ludwig's there with Bruce Springsteen right now having dinner. You know what I mean? Just as a nerd to like bombard him for autographs, but we're like, nah, we can't do that. But like in retrospect, I probably should have done that,
I'm surprised you didn't, knowing you.
I mean, I still respect privacy.
I
and
didn't
stuff,
say you don't respect, but I mean, he's out in person. Like, okay, yeah, it's Maine. Sorry, we're small, but I'm here too. Sign my CD.
Exactly. I'm one fan that knows you're here. Like, it's not even like that, bombarding. But the funny thing about talking about how Nirvana is not great live, because that Unplugged album was the first, or at least one of the first 3 albums I ever owned was that Unplugged album, and I loved it. And I think part of it is what we were talking about earlier, where you get to know Kurt a little bit because he talks candidly between songs, and you never get that otherwise. He's either super, out of it, or he's condescending in interviews, and you're like, you don't really get to know him. In that Unplugged album, you get to know him a little bit, which is great. But yeah, this live album, you get that what you were talking about, like not that great live. And I think actually that answers the question why they were never my favorite grunge band. And it was always like Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden are like fighting for my number one. I mean, obviously Pearl Jam's number one, but like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden are also great, and they're all great live. So it's like 3 out of 4 are like phenomenal live, and 1 isn't great live, and they're the biggest one. Just shows you like you don't have to be great live. You just have to, I don't know, represent what that kind of time frame stood for. So
they were great live for one sitting, I think, and it was the
Unplugged.
MTV Unplugged. Yeah, and it's not necessarily sonically; it's the feel of that. If you watch those videos, I mean, I can't imagine being in that room. That must have been really, really cool.
Yeah, it must have been pretty intense.
And again, the video companion to it can bring it to a whole nother level. Because that's the thing, is if this from the Muddy Banks had a visual to it, it'd be like, damn, I'm all in. Like, because a lot of this stuff was probably club shows. I think some of it dates back to 89, 90.
Wow. Yeah.
All right, we ready for my second one?
Round 2, baby.
Yep.
I'm gonna pull an audible. I didn't look this one up in my research tonight, but we got talking about listening to music and stuff that was formative for us growing up, and this was a formative live record for me as a kid, because my dad had, again, this goes back to going on vacation with my dad as a 11, 12, 13-year-old and going on road trips and playing music in the car on road trips. And this record it was Tom Petty's greatest hits, and this record and August and Everything After by Counting Crows always made it into the playlist here. But it's Rock Spectacle by the Bare Naked Ladies. You guys probably would never have guessed it, so I'm not going to trivia you it. But yeah, this record was always on. And it was before they got really big with 1 Week. It came out in 96. 1 Week was obviously their big song off stunt around the same time, 96, 97. But this was pre that. They had a big song before that, If I Had $1 Million. Most people are aware of it. Portland was definitely aware of it. They were kind of folk heroes in Portland, from Canada, Montreal, I believe, in the area. They played Maine a lot. They love Maine. They love WCOI, our local radio station. They would play the patio outside in One City Center a lot. They would come and play the Civic Center. I saw them there. They were my first concert. But this record was always on. It was recorded in a couple of different places, had a couple secret songs because it was the 90s and that's what you did. And it just sounded great. And they sounded great. And it was songs that you didn't hear on the radio a million times. So you could come back to this one after 1 week popped, and after they became a massive pop punk or pop rock band from Canada. Yeah, these guys, this record, you guys probably never heard it.
No, I just looked it up on Wikipedia, and I recognize the cover. It's like the tannish, and then the classic, almost like the carnival looking Bare Naked Ladies logo. But no, like they were in that era. They were like the touring kings. I feel like, you know, like them and Dave Matthews. It's like, you know, you go see them live. Like you don't even listen to the recorded stuff. I feel like it was a live experience.
Totally.
And it sounds like this probably captured that.
Yeah. One of my close friends growing up, on the other side, because I grew up in South Portland with you guys, but my parents weren't together. So my dad lived across the bridge in Portland, and down the street from his house was a kid that I grew up with named Bert. Awesome dude, one of my best friends growing up, and we bonded over these guys. Like I did it over there too. Sorry guys, I had friends in Portland that also love music, and yeah, I wasn't cheating on you, but you know, it is what it is. When you're a nerd, you're a nerd with everybody. It's what you do. But yeah, we love these guys, and we listen to them all the time, and we listen to the old stuff, and you know, this was a formative live record for me, and that's why.
Does this have that live track from the patio show?
No. It
Okay.
does have "If I Had $1 Million" on it. I think it closes out before the secret songs.
Confirmed.
But these are prior to that patio show, I believe.
Okay, because I remember like our local station CYY of Rob, former guest Robert Catelli. You know, I remember they played that live track all the time.
All the
Is
time.
it from?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Okay, it wasn't from this. But
That video
it.
is probably on YouTube, and I might, if I can find it, we'll try to toss it on the YouTube playlist.
But yeah, no, I'm pulling up this image too. Just the image. I remember. I think I had this T-shirt, and it's
Nice.
like it looks like a festival bill type artwork, which I always appreciate.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk about time capsule. Like they were huge back then.
Mhm.
I think you Tone, just compared, like it was like them and Dave Matthews Band, or was that you, Tone?
That was yeah. I mean, not as big as them, but you get that type of following.
Yeah. No, I think they were pretty equal at the time, which is amazing because they were small time and then they just blew up. And I think, which is cool because Montreal's not too far from Portland. Like we were, as a city, kind of somewhat responsible for helping them get as big as they were with the help of, you know, CYY and their support. You know, they skyrocketed. It almost felt like a local band in a lot of ways. But yeah, man, great pick. I remember listening to this album too, and it definitely represents the live show, which is fun, energetic. It's feel good music, and that's what everyone needs. And Bare Naked Ladies, the name's always been a little controversial. But.
Yeah, right. I think one of their first records was "Bare Naked Ladies Are Men," which is it's a great play on words.
They're from Scarborough, Ontario.
Yeah.
Canada. Interesting.
You're right, Nate. They felt like a local band for us, even though they weren't. They were 300 miles away or whatever. But they definitely felt like a local band. They got the key to the city. They play Portland on every tour, at the beginning or the end or close to the end, because they'd probably end up in Canada. But every U.S. tour, they'd either start or finish in Portland because they just love Maine. And I've seen them in probably 3 or 4 times. Stephen Page has obviously left the band for some personal reasons and some issues that he's had on his own. Still doing okay, I think. But yeah, those guys, when they had the full complement, the 5 guys, they were a lot of fun to see live.
Was he the singer?
One of them, Ed Robertson's the other one, yeah.
Okay.
Page had the like funky kind of high, like almost nasally, not nasally, but kind of funky voice that nobody else had.
Yeah.
And Ed is the more straight-laced. Pinch Me, you know the song Pinch Me?
Mm-hmm.
That's Ed.
Yeah.
I never saw them. Never saw them, I don't think.
I'm surprised. They were a big CYY powerhouse band. But I mean, the Canada thing and the Maine thing kind of makes sense. It's like a, you know, band from Vancouver
Maine is
breaking
Canada.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's like,
ask people not from Maine.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's like a band from Vancouver breaking in Seattle. It's like, no, it's right across, you know?
Yeah.
So you have the support of the USA. So great pull, man.
All right, Nate, what do you got?
Oh, man, I'm stoked to talk about this one because this one is maybe not my favorite, but I would say in my top 3, which is bold. The Roots Come Alive dropped in 1999.
Ooh, good one.
Oh, wow.
And it's such an epic live album. Like, introduced me to the band. I think I got it in 2000, so I didn't get it when it dropped but totally, embraced what they were doing from there on going forward. The album was recorded in Zurich, Switzerland, and New York City. So I got friends in Switzerland. So shout out to Fabio. And just like this, it just captures everything they do live. Like they're such a unique hip hop band. They actually play their instruments. Black Thought's fantastic. And they had kind of a rotating, lineup for a long time. But there's a vibe on this live album that like you play it through and talk about like unplug, like whether you're driving or I used to work at this jazz cafe in Lower East Side of New York City, and me and the bartender were huge Roots fans. So we used to play this when we were all like closing down bar and like cleaning up and stuff, and just like make it a party basically, and take shots of gin and stuff. Cool memories there. But yeah, it's just everything about this has positive connotation for me, and it's just like it's such a cool like, man, there's something like this that actually exists, like this jazzy hip hop, feel good, super nerdy music, intricate, like these people are masters at their craft type album and band. So I listened to it again today for the first time in I want to say 10 years. It's been a long time, but I have it on CD. And when I lived in New York City, I caught them every chance to kind of relive this live album experience, like leading up to finally seeing them, and then seeing them in New York City and kind of almost emulating that translate from the album to live experience, and got to meet them and stuff. And yeah, I've been a huge fan ever since. And I'm almost bummed that they're the backing band for Jimmy Fallon, because they don't tour as much now because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're tight, and this album like proves it, like everything about it. They got Jill Scott on here kind of doing a special appearance. Common, Ice Raw, Jaguar, Rozelle was in the band at the time. I don't know if you guys heard this record.
Rozelle. That's funny you say Rozelle. Remember the beat and the lyrics at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had the All I Know song.
Yeah. He was talented as hell.
Yeah.
I have thoughts. I have so many thoughts right now, Nate. I hadn't even thought of this. I was going to ask you guys when we get done, not just a question that plagued me when I was looking through this. Is there a good live hip hop album? I was going to say no, but Nate, there is one. It's this one. It's one's fucking awesome.
I've never heard.
You've never heard it, Twan?
No.
Oh man. Oh, this is a great one, and you're right. Jill Scott. I love the Jill Scott on "You Got Me." That's the Erykah Badu part from the.
It's one of my favorite
version.
songs.
It's such a great song, and that version of it is such an awesome. Like it crescendos. It's so good.
Yeah. Oh,
this is why live albums are rule. Is you get that stuff.
Yep.
You don't get on the regular record, and there's a good. I want to say what's it called? The end of the record has a couple of bonus songs.
Yep, exactly.
Shit, what's the name of that one? Is it The Lesson?
There's What You Want.
Yes, that song is awesome.
Dope. Yeah. Fucking dope. Yeah.
So that's just neither here nor there. But the Roots, not Jimmy Fallon's band. If we have younger listeners, they're not just Jimmy Fallon's band. They're an awesome hip hop collective that plays instruments. Questlove is just badass. Black Thought badass. Check them out.
So this is coming from someone who obviously I love the Roots, but I've never heard this live album. I assume their MC level and lyricism flows through in this. Like, and like you see a lot of rap shows where like, I don't know, they get too wrapped up in like the other guys, where the other guys will just finish the last word of the sentence. You can't even hear anything. There's just too many people on stage. Like, I feel like they're true musicians, they're true lyricists, where they can carry this. Like you guys have seen that Black Thought 9-minute freestyle on one of the radio shows. Like the dude is on another planet.
Yeah.
It translates well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And that 9-minute solo, I've seen that same exact thing on many. I think I have it in one of my old iPhones, like recorded from when I've seen him. Like he's done that live 9-minute freestyle. Somewhere I have that buried somewhere.
I just picture Nate has like a drawer somewhere in his house with like 7 iPhones in it, and he's like, which one of these has that Black Thought freestyle on it?
Yeah, it's basically like the nerdery bins with the posters, but digital format stuff. That's what I was saying. Like that photos of the Dave Grohl and stuff. I have a ton of stuff with other people. I just don't have it on me. But yeah, no, great point, Twan. And I think you mentioned it earlier. Like rap live, like unfortunately isn't always that good, and I think it's because of what you're saying, Twan. Like they don't half-ass it, but it's almost like they're kind of handing it off I've seen old videos of like Eminem with like Proof, and like he says the last word, and it's like supposed to look good, but it actually kind of degrades the song a little bit. Doesn't really work because there's no flow. It sounds like they're just kind of huffing lyrics, like they're not actually like in cadence with the music in the background.
Exactly.
But this is the exact opposite of that. Like they're literally tight. Black Thought's an extremely well written lyricist, and the band is like it could be the backing band for anyone really. It doesn't have to be hip hop.
Yeah.
Speaking of Black Thought, like he's a tight drummer.
Questlove.
Sorry, yeah. So yeah, this is like the antithesis of that, and now that you say it, Tone, like I don't think there's any other live hip hop album that's even half decent, but this
Not on
one's
this
like
level. Yeah.
This is like A+, 5-star. Twan, like definitely put this on, but play it through and take some time and just this is a good unplug. Listen to this loud and have a few beers because it's like it feels like a concert. It feels like you're there, and it's a vibe. It's awesome.
Without visuals, it feels like you're it's a concert. I would completely agree. I will disagree with you as far as maybe not records, but live shows. Underground hip hop kills it.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to, it's a different world. Your mainstream big acts, yeah, it's all about the stage show. It's all about passing it off, having special guests, getting people out on stage, getting people involved. I get that. That's part of what goes on with these bigger bands. But the underground crew, the underground rap, I've been to a million of those. Those are fun, and those get done well. Now, do they translate to a live CD? Probably not.
The irony is like they're typically the most skilled,
Yeah. Yep.
One comment about the CD cover of this, Nate, is like it's just perfect. It captures the essence of the Roots, where it's like there's not a band member or not a group member in sight. It's the name and the album's in the corner, but it's just the microphone looking out into what looks like the Hammerstein Ballroom or something. You know what I mean? It looks like it's looking out into a venue. Actually, is it Hammerstein? It's in New York. It was recorded in New York and Switzerland.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm not sure, but that looks like it just from that photo.
Well, I'm glad you answered my question of is there a hip hop record that does have a lot, or a hip hop group that does have a live record that is worth putting on. This is definitely that one. And I don't know how it was my blind spot. I fucking love this record. I've listened to it a million times.
I didn't know this existed.
Nice.
Didn't know it. So add this one to the
you're,
playlist.
You're we're making you eat a little crow here, man. There's some good live records out there.
Well, haven't listened yet. I might hate it. No, I'm sure I'll love it. Like these guys, on every group member is on another level.
Yeah, no, they're tight, and this album just captures it perfect. I mean, recorded in '99, so I mean they've been a band for a long time. They're still going, so I feel like they were probably in a high on '99. Like they're still pretty big, but they weren't. They definitely weren't doing a late show or anything.
When did Phrenology drop? After this, right? 01?
Definitely after this. Yeah.
01. I think 01, 02. And then Tipping Point is awesome after that. So there's some, I mean, they continued to put out great records.
So this would have been what, Things Fall Apart era?
Yeah, right around then. Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, you're right. I think they were at their commercial peak for Phrenology, which has there ever been? They're probably the biggest hip hop group that never really had a smash single.
The Seed was probably their biggest hit, right?
It was.
Seed 2.0.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the Seed for sure. Yeah. Other than that, they were Roots. Everyone knew them for what they were, but they were never a headlining band. But for festivals, when I saw them, I'm like, if we'd missed this, we'd be morons to miss this. And I kind of take back like the fact that they didn't play a whole live that much when they were on Fallon, because when I lived in New York City, they played all the time. But they were in the city, so. And the great part is I would work my shift at that cafe I was telling you about on Lower East Side in Greenwich Village, and finish my shift, at the restaurant at like 10 or 11. And they would play like late night shows that started at like 12:30 at night, went until like 2 or 3 in the morning. So
New York, baby. City that
it
never
was great, man.
sleeps. All right, Twan, let's wrap her up here.
So I had one in mind earlier today and thought in the morning, I'm like, geez, we've talked about this friggin' band so much that I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. So what I was gonna pick was Rage's live at the Grand Olympic Auditorium. It's for a band that heavy, and here I am talking about it, I can't get enough of it. For a band that heavy, it's the tightest live album on the planet. But anyway, we'll save that for another time, because we talk about it
Drop
every
a
week.
bomb. See you later. Let's come back to that another time. Yeah.
So I'm gonna pick one. I know you guys know of the band. You probably don't know the album. So the band is Earth Crisis. The album is The Oath That Keeps Me Free. Dropped in 1998. So we've mentioned Earth Crisis on this podcast. I think I mentioned them a couple times, but as recent as the episode with Brendan from Incendiary, because I compared their kind of trajectory as a band to Vision of Disorder, where they were, in a niche scene, scene heroes, and then they made that leap to Ozfest, and it didn't work out. And it didn't work out for anyone because their core fans are like, all right, you sold us out. And then Ozfest fans kind of knew this wasn't new metal, you know what I mean? So no one really won. But anyway, I'll come back to why I bring that up with this album. But so this album came out in 98 on Victory Records. A few reasons why I picked it and why it's one of my favorites. One, I have it on vinyl. I've had it on vinyl for probably 18 years, 2003, wow. 2004. So I've listened to it a ton. And for being a small label, small band, small budget, it sounds so good. It's one of the best recorded live albums, pound for pound, without a big budget, which adds to it, for sure. So let me, another reason why I brought this up, because I think you guys would appreciate this story. So I'm going to walk you through. They released 2 albums in the mid-90s on Victory Records. They leave Victory in 98 to go to Roadrunner, and they release Breed the Killers. What also comes out that same year is this album in 98 on Victory. So this was a label. This must have been to satisfy a label. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. This must have been the 3rd record on that deal. So to kind of tie it back to the Ozfest thing, they dropped that Breed the Killers album on Roadrunner. It bombs. What do? They sign back with Victory.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they sign back with Victory. So, one thing I wish there was more is like more on-stage dialogue and banter. Because so like Carl Buechner, he's the singer. He's, this outspoken, I don't know if you know anything about Earth Crisis, but they're a vegan straight edge band, and they're almost militant with that. I wish there was more of that, but I have interviewed him. I interviewed him back in 2007, back when I worked with college radio. Cool guy, but I figured I'd mix it up because we've talked about Rage so damn much.
Rage who? Rage Against the what?
Rage Against the System of a Down. I don't know.
Yeah, with the sickness.
But yeah, I would say pound for pound, it's not the best. It's one of my favorites. And I think it's that nostalgia play. It's that, I got it. I don't know where the hell I got this, but back in probably like 2004.
This is a band that I don't know a ton about, but I actually almost made an Earth Crisis joke in the text today. So it's funny that you brought them up. This is one of those clairvoyant moments. I legit had it typed. I was like, no, wait, I don't know if this works here. It's funny to me, but I don't think it makes sense. And it's funny because you brought them up tonight. So.
What was the joke?
I honestly can't remember. Today was a fucking whirlwind, but it's like, oh, Earth Crisis. Oh, okay. Yeah. I had thought about them today, which is, if you had told me a year ago I was going to be thinking about Earth Crisis today, wouldn't have happened. Would not have been a thing. So for it to come up twice in the same day from 2 different sources, that's pretty cool. And that's a testament to our podcast. But it's something that I look forward to checking out and listening to. I love put the live album out to satisfy the deal, switch labels, bomb. Hey guys, is the door still open? Can we come back in? We'd love to put another album out with you. Like that fits so many different things in this life, right? Not just music, just the world.
Totally. It's the grass is not greener on the other side, legitimately a contract form. Like, no, it really isn't. We're going back to the roots. And I'm always intrigued by Roadrunner because they're kind of like the major label that's not even really a major label. Like they're sub-major in a lot of ways, even though they have Nickelback and Slipknot and stuff, but like they're not Epic, you know what I mean? They're not Reprise, or they're not Capitol Records. And they're pretty big, you know?
I think by definition, I think they are major. I think they are subsidiary type of thing.
Yeah.
But I get what you mean. Like they're in disguise, you know what I mean? Like they're not the big bad major.
Yeah. Well, because you can't get spins on some of that material that they press. Like you can't get in the top 40 ever. So if that's what the music industry stands for, then Roadrunner is kind of sub that. But yeah, and at the same time, like they are signing all the biggest stuff within that genre. and Nickelback. Um,
Well, you need the Nickelback to sign the rest of it, as we talked about with Brendan.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. It makes sense in every walk of life. You need that big bad gonna bring the money in so that we can do those fun side project-y type things.
Yep. Didn't Brendan? He mentioned it, right? It's like the seed capital, basically.
The crazy thing about this album is like, I love Earth Crisis. They had a couple funky albums in there where they definitely fell into the nu metal stuff, and they went to Roadrunner, and even the Return album on Victory, which is called Slither, bombed. It was like butt rock and metalcore with like some 311 mixed in there. But the reason I'm laughing is like, no one was asking for a live Earth Crisis album. Like, this was totally a label thing. And in Victory, if you know anything about Victory, they're the shystiest. I mean, they're not even a label anymore, I don't think. They're just money hungry, and they switched gears in the early 2000s for a money grab, and it got worse from there. But yeah, no one was asking for this. But I don't know. I love the artwork. I love everything about it.
And the production, the sound, everything is good on it too.
Yeah, I mean, for it being 1998 and an indie label, Victory was indie, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy good.
Interesting.
It sounds better than Nirvana, the Nirvana compilation.
Was it recorded in one spot, or was it one of those kind of, here's a song from here, here's a song from there?
One spot. Yeah, it's a whole set.
I think that helps. I mean, awesome. I do think that helps. And I mean, that's the thing that we've kind of come back to recently. We've talked about off air in our group text. Nate and I both signed up for nugs.net for full show listens. Like, I want to relive a couple of shows that I went to, and there's some video and stuff like that too. And the deal was good. So yeah, I'm in. I'll do a year of this and see if this is something I like. And it's a full show, and you get the banter in between. You get the whole vibe of the concert. Not necessarily like you were there, but if you were there, like I've got a couple Counting Crow show on there. I think there's another act. I don't know if it's 311 or somebody else, but there's a few on there that I was actually at.
That's
I've
awesome.
Listened through too again. I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I remember that. I don't remember that. Why? Where is it? Let's listen to it again. So that's been kind of fun, and that helps. Full set, and then pressing it, which we're going to see more of all this live stream stuff too.
Yeah,
that is cool to see that one cohesive piece of art, as opposed to song from here from 1994, song from here from 1995, 7 from this place, 4 from this place, and they mishmash it together.
Totally. And we're not affiliated with Nugs, but yes, we did sign up, me and Tone. We're trying to peer pressure Twan.
Yet.
Yes, yet. But I mean, I was just thinking, like, when you're saying that, like, if it's like a Facebook memory where it's like, remember this concert you went to? If that happened for like every show that I went to, like every show in your database, Twan, and they're like, do you want this? It's a memory. Like, you could have the whole show mastered, quality bootleg of this show. I would buy every single one of them.
Yeah.
So if Nug wants to step it up, I got tons of money to shell out for every show I went to, just to have it, to relive it, to, go back in time kind of thing. And the reason I'm such an advocate for live recordings is it's a lot of the reasons I get into certain bands is from live recordings. So the roots I got into them from this record. So I might get into Earth Crisis just from listening to this record, even, not knowing them at all, and being like, all right, now I can check it out. Cause it's like, in a lot of ways, like a live recording is like a greatest hits on a nerd level. You get it all. So
I'll mail out my copy on wax of The Oath That Keeps Me Free.
Don't sell it, Nate. Cause I mean, Twan, that's probably gonna be worth a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
How many of those are kicking around?
I don't think, I mean, small pressing for sure.
It's yours. Like, that's the fun part about that, is this is mine. I'm happy. I've lived with it. I've listened to it. I kept it because it's one of my favorites.
It's one I never sold over the years. The artwork's cool. It's got like almost looks like a tattoo design. I'll when we get off this, I'll show you guys.
Nice.
But you guys listening can't see it. Oh wait, no, it'll be part of the music, the podcast companion, the photo companion we put out later this week.
Yeah,
on YouTube, right?
There, and I think we'll probably do on the socials like we did last week, right? I mean, we just put all those foos pictures we had of the foos. Now I didn't realize we had that much stuff kicking around. That was fun.
We're nerdier than we look.
we look pretty nerdy. I'm not gonna lie.
So if you're listening and you follow us on socials, drop a comment or email us with what your favorite live albums are. Because again, the reason why we did this episode is we're starving for the live stuff. Like, there's only so many of these CDs you can listen to. And like you said, like Tony and Nate just said, they're signing up for services to listen to live stuff. Like, we're craving it, guys.
We're getting closer. We are getting closer every day, and
Yeah.
at some point we'll be outside at least. I bet with that stuff. So I'm hoping we get a fun outdoor concert experience this summer at least. So that's coming.
Yeah, like Twan said, hit us up on the socials. Comment, send us a message on what your favorite live record, live recording could even be, like a random bootleg. I'm just interested. There's so many styles of music and different variations of live recordings that kind of catch your ear and translate you into a fan all of a sudden. So send it over to us. I want to check it out.
All right, boys. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Podioslave podcast, number 51 next week, and getting closer and closer to that year anniversary, which is kind of cool.
Maybe an interview, maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah, we got some stuff in the pipeline. We'll see.
We'll see. See how it goes. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you.
Peace, podheads.
Cheers, all.